Good afternoon, everyone. The country is in a red weather alert. This is a nationwide red alert. I appreciate the situation is causing considerable disruption and inconvenience for people all over the country. And I want to reassure people at home that I've directed that the full resources of the state do everything necessary to ensure the safety and welfare of our citizens, which is our absolute priority today. I just attended this morning's meeting of the National Emergency Coordination Group with Ministers Ross, Murphy and Keogh. Met Éireann provided us with the most recent forecast, and we got updates from all sectors on the issues we're now dealing with across the country, including transport, local government, and Garda Síochána, the health services, and the defence forces. As you'll be aware, late last night, because of worsening conditions, Met Éireann extended a red weather alert to cover the whole of the country. In light of this, schools and colleges across the country will stay closed today and tomorrow. The risk to life and limb presented by severe weather conditions should not be underestimated by anyone. We are facing severe blizzard-like conditions which will spread across the country from 4 p.m. today. Winds of up to 100 kilometres an hour will persist with heavy snow and could result in zero visibility and whiteout conditions. Snow will gather in deep drifts, and it's not safe to be outside in such conditions. No one should be on the roads, and we're asking everyone to be home and safe by 4 o'clock today and to remain indoors until the severe weather has passed tomorrow. I repeat, nobody should be on the roads after 4 p.m. today, and everyone should be in home or indoors by 4 p.m. Public transport is severely curtailed today. Dublin Bus, Bus Éireann and Local Link are not operating. Irish rail services are being closed down for the entire network between 12 noon and 2 p.m. today. The Dart is closed on the south side of Dublin City due to coastal flooding, and Lewis will close between 12 noon and 2 p.m. as well. All emergency services are on high alert for conditions, and I want to thank everyone in the ambulance and fire services, local government, civil defence, Coast Guard, Garda Síochána and the defence forces for all they're doing to keep our citizens safe. And I'd also like to say thanks to our healthcare staff who are providing essential care to patients in hospitals and in communities across the country. Ireland has a great community spirit. It's part of what defines us as a people. And today I want to ask everyone, if it's safe to do so, to please check on your neighbours, particularly the old, the sick, the vulnerable and those living alone. Whether it's a knock on the door or a phone call, just make one of those today. We're also making every effort to ensure that rough sleepers have shelter and accommodation. We have enough emergency beds, heat and food for everyone who needs it. And I also want to acknowledge the voluntary services, home helps and carers who are working today to care for vulnerable people in communities all over Ireland. I also want to recognise the media for their help in keeping the country informed of how to stay safe. Looking ahead, the next 24 hours are going to present a big challenge for us. The NECG will be monitoring the situation constantly to ensure that all national efforts are coordinated, and will keep people updated on the events. To make sure you have the latest updates, you can monitor Met Éireann or also check gov.ie. Gov.ie is the government's website, which is a link to all public information. But most importantly, stay safe. And I'll hand you over to Sean Hogan for further information.
Thank you, Taoiseach. The National Emergency Coordination Group has been working with all the state organisations involved in preparing for responding to the current severe weather. We met here this morning, the Taoiseach Leo Varadkar, Ministers Eoin Murphy, Minister Shane Ross and Minister Paul Keogh were in attendance. A number of other ministers were on contact through phone line. Our message remains, for reasons of public safety, that from the National Emergency Coordination Group is advising that people should not be out of doors from 4 p.m. today. And please use the hours between now and then to make sure that you and yours are indoors by that time. That's 4 p.m. today. Met Éireann issued a status red snow ice warning for the entire country at 11 p.m. last night in light of the combination of widespread snow showers, extremely low temperatures and strong winds. This was in place from 11 p.m. last night and extending now to Friday at 3 p.m. This is an extension beyond the original red level warnings for Munster and Leinster, and also extends the warning period later into Friday afternoon. The closure of schools, third level institutions and public offices has also been extended nationwide, therefore. There have been ongoing further heavy snow showers overnight and continuing this morning, which have brought accumulations of significant levels of snow with all areas at risk. There has been some very windy conditions, and people will have seen how this combination of wind and snow affects visibility. We're expecting blizzard conditions to develop generally from the south later this afternoon and evening, as the heavy snow from Storm Emma and the strong easterly winds bring snowdrifts northwards over the country. Eastern and southern coastal counties will be affected initially. The blizzard conditions will continue throughout tonight, and temperatures will be extremely low, below -4, and there will be strong gale force northeast winds with the snowfalls. This will create the conditions which underline our advice not to venture out of doors while these conditions persist. We repeat again that our advice is that people should be at home today by 4 o'clock. Our emergency services are taking a range of steps to ensure fire and ambulance services cover continues for the citizens, as well as ensuring the safety of their staff. As much as possible, staff are being facilitated by remaining on fire stations and ambulance stations with revised shift arrangements and transport as necessary. The 999-112 service remains in place, but the public are being urged to request the attendance of emergency services in extreme circumstances only. As always, services will carry out a risk assessment before mobilising and will prioritise the cases to which they respond. And people should also be aware that in the conditions there's likely to be extended response times. We have had issues with predictions of storm surges allied with high spring tides associated with this storm, which bring the danger of coastal flooding, with southern and eastern coasts particularly at risk. Combined with the easterly winds today, the situation has arisen on the rail line at Salt Hill in South Dublin, which has impacted on the rail service and DART services, and our colleagues in Erin Road Éireann are managing this situation at the moment. We have received reports from around the country highlighting the impact of the conditions as they have impacted right around the country, as the snow has impacted and with the wind last night. There's been widespread snow and ice around the country. Traffic is at low levels and has been flowing on the motorways and the main roads, which have been kept open, although travelling slowly. And again, we reiterate our advice about driving in snow conditions for the remainder of the afternoon for those who are getting home. Otherwise, conditions are extremely treacherous for driving other than on the main roads, which have been salted, and many roads are impassable due to snow and ice conditions. All bus Éireann services have been cancelled nationwide. All Dublin bus services were cancelled today. Irish Rail services operating up to midday today, and services are beginning to wind down from now on. And intending passengers, well, too late to check for last departures at irishrail.ie. There are delays as they have impacted. The flooding in Salt Hill has impacted on the DART service. Lewis has had both lines operating full service at 30-minute frequencies, but they are also closing down. All local bus services have been cancelled as well. The airports have been open, some at the moment, and some flights have got out and some flights have landed, but there's been widespread cancellations and disruption. Some persons have had to be accommodated overnight in the airports. There's been also widespread cancellation of ferries on the Irish Sea into France. Our local authorities and Transport Infrastructure Ireland staff have been working again since 5 a.m. this morning to ensure that priority road networks continue to be open for traffic today. That work is ongoing and will continue. The local authorities have been working with homeless NGOs and have been working tirelessly through the last 24 hours to ensure that our most vulnerable people, the rough sleepers, have shelter available. Additional outreach teams worked through the night and will continue to work to ensure that the remaining rough sleepers have the option of coming indoors. There are spaces available for everyone who wants to have shelter. Last night, 106 people availed of warmth and shelter at St Catherine's Centre here in Dublin. And I would like to extend our appreciation to the volunteers and the organisations, and to the public who contacted them to provide information and who are providing shelter, health and other supports for this vulnerable group. Our local authorities will begin to collate situation reports as the blizzards clear on Friday. The National Emergency Coordination Group will be attempting to compile the national picture and to prioritise our response efforts to restore services and to get the country moving again. All the response organisations, coordinated by the local authorities, will begin the task of dealing with the aftermath in collaboration with communities all over the country, and the Defence Forces remain on standby to assist. We're advising the public to monitor Met Éireann across all media platforms, and as the Taoiseach said there's further updates, and to use gov.ie for information and for links to all the public information, all the public services and the information that's available there. This is a difficult time, and all organisations have been working together, and we will continue to do so. I would like to thank the public for heeding our advice and looking after each other. Sir Ska Chéile Shawarn Nadina. Thank you. Take questions. George.
Sean, obviously the red alert is extended, but how long will it go on? And by that I mean you're not going to switch from red to clear immediately. So
No.
have you got an estimate for how long it'll be before people will really get to the point when they can safely go back out? Because I don't think anybody would imagine that an orange warning in snow conditions is that safe either.
No, and before I call Evelyn to reply on the forecast aspect of that, I think it's important, George, that we bear in mind what we're facing here. This is nature coming in. We're uncertain here. We haven't seen these conditions for a long time. And even if we had, we don't know how things will get repeated. These are a unique set of circumstances. The storm coming up from the south, heavy snow, wind. We don't know what the impact of that is going to be. And even if Evelyn was to come and tell us how the weather conditions may evolve insofar as she can for the weeks ahead, we still will be appraising the situation on Friday. We don't know what the situation really will be, but I will ask Evelyn to comment, Evelyn, if you want, on the red warnings and the other issues that George is raising, please.
So I suppose, will I just start with now? The reason we extended the red warning was the snow showers drifted into the west, and for example, now not a huge amount. There's about 8 centimetres in parts of Galway and 10 centimetres depth in parts of Clare and Donegal. Nothing very much at all been reported across much of Mayo, but in terms of temperatures, the levels are certainly stat as red, and by that I mean air temperatures certainly staying below -1 or -2 degrees today. That's air temperatures. At the moment, for example, well, I've put up the air temperatures for you. It's almost or just -4 in Cork, and generally it's sub-zero around the country. The winds have picked up. They are going to be stronger this evening, but for daylight hours, that's the reason why we extended the red for daylight hours today, was that combination of pretty blustery winds gusting to gale force, sub-zero temperatures producing an effective wind chill temperature of below -10, affecting living humans and animals, of course. That's for today. And today, to answer your question, is the coldest day of the period. So we've got, these are the lowest temperatures during this cold spell. The Siberian air is directly down across Ireland. You know, we were on its more western periphery, but it's directly down now and extending. It's right down across Britain, and there's status red warnings in operation for Britain as well, and it's right down across France, where there's fairly extensive snow as well. So I'll move away here, but I'll be back in. So, sorry. These here, I'll say it again, these here are the extensive snow showers. It's this here on the radar. That's the band of precipitation or weather front from the storm Emma. So that's heading our way. So our forecast is that would reach the southeast during this afternoon. So that's the 4 p.m. start, if you like. The strong winds are occurring at the moment, but it's going to continue to get windy. So we've gusting to gale force at the moment, but there'll be more widespread gale force winds overland this evening and tonight, and gale force 9 winds at sea, perhaps touching storm force at sea, but that's still unclear. The storm centre is pushing towards the south coast of Ireland, and that's pushing the precipitation ahead of it, and then as that meets the Siberian air, that's producing that continuous snow. And as Sean said, that's why the warnings are so exceptional, if you like, because we've this combination of Siberian air and then this snow coming in. Now, in terms of tomorrow, that band of precipitation, it'll just about get into the northwest, but really there won't be very much there at all. It's going to push back southwards. So for tomorrow, it's going to be fairly clear across Connacht, Donegal, Cavan, and northern parts of Leinster. There won't be any precipitation, and today's sub-zero temperatures will have to be replaced by, say, +1 or +2. So today, the red is really for today and this evening and tonight, and then it'll be an improving situation tomorrow, quite dramatically improving in the north and northwest and the central Midland areas. But over southern and eastern areas, there could well be further outbreaks of snow tomorrow, but there's a high degree of uncertainty associated with that. But still, the gale force winds will be continuing tomorrow. But certainly today, this evening and tonight, the worst, and big improvement tomorrow. But still further snow in some southern and eastern areas. But still, there's a high degree of uncertainty of how the storm system is going to behave.
Thank you. Can I just call with Barry Kenny with us? Barry, do you want to give us an update on your situation there, if we can?
Just obviously we've had the service plan in terms of the wind down between midday and 2 today for routes around the network. We were hit then this morning with the tidal surge, which caused flooding at both Salt Hill and Dunleary. That effectively has extended to run into when we were scheduled to be closed. So from about 10:30 this morning, the south side Dartbury and Pearson Bray was closed. Working with the National Transport Authority and with the grateful assistance of Morton's Coaches, we have 2 services operating for rail customers at 1300 and 1330 from Pearse Station. But that will be it then, and obviously, as I say, the routes will be closing around the network from now through to 2, and we will be reopening on Saturday morning. We don't anticipate any train services operating tomorrow, and we'll confirm details for Saturday, tomorrow, Friday.
Thanks.
No trains at all?
No.
Tomorrow evening?
No trains on the network. Effectively, given I suppose the weather outlooks that we have had, and the fact that effectively every service that we have operates through Leinster, Munster and the affected area at some point, with a kind of a 1500 clear point tomorrow currently anticipated. The work we would have to do to prove our lines, to clear our lines, make sure they're clear and available for operation tomorrow afternoon and evening would take such time that effectively we wouldn't have time to re-establish. So we're working for a planned resumption on Saturday, and so we can give customers full notice on Friday of what those service details will be.
Thank you, Barry. This situation in Salt Hill has arisen obviously from the tidal, and we've been working with our colleagues in OPW. I might ask Jim, do you want to give us just a pointer on the main areas at risk from the Jim Casey from OPW on the main areas at risk from the flooding?
Thank you, Sean. Good afternoon, everyone. Just on behalf of OPW, to say that OPW continues to monitor sea levels and storm surge conditions over the coming days. The OPW issued a high tide advisory on Tuesday, and that advisory is active from today through until Monday. Highest tides around the national coastline will be on Friday and Saturday, and especially on the first tides tomorrow morning and on Saturday morning. And the most at-risk areas will be on the south coast, the east coast and the southwest coast. So local authorities are advised to monitor closely sea level conditions and storm surge conditions on our tide and storm surge website. In terms of potential coastal flooding, the following locations are considered most likely at risk. On the south coast, Cork City and Harbour area, and the low-lying areas along the Cork County and Waterford County coastlines. On the east coast, Dundalk Bay, Dublin Bay, Wexford Harbour area, and Wicklow. And on the southwest coast, the Shannon Estuary and Limerick City. The times of high tide in those locations: tomorrow morning the critical time is high water at approximately 5:30 in Cork Harbour and City area, and Dundalk Bay 11:30 tomorrow morning, Wexford 7 a.m. tomorrow morning, Shannon Estuary and Limerick City 7 a.m. tomorrow morning. And you can consult the local media for time of high water in other areas, and indeed the Easy Tide website. Thank you.
Okay, any other questions?
Yes, just wondering, Sean, you said there that beds will be available for any homeless people who want them. Now, we did hear from some charities that said that at 9:30 last night, DCC were saying there weren't beds available. Just wondering, would you have anyone available to confirm that?
Yeah, Mary, do you want to? My colleague Mary Hurley.
There are plenty of
Mary,
beds
you
in the
need to
system.
come in here to the
Sure.
mic.
Yeah, our teams have been working across Dublin and obviously across the other urban areas. There were 40 spare beds last night. 106 individuals, as Sean stated there, utilised the beds that were in St Catherine's Hall. The Dublin Regional Homeless Executive and the Peter McVerry Trust are at the moment combing the city for the last remaining rough sleepers out there. They're in single digits, we believe, at this stage, and we'll be working until 4 o'clock to make sure we get everybody in. But at the moment, we have excess beds, we have space for everybody, and I'd urge the public, if you see a rough sleeper, please contact the website at homeless.ie and the call number, which is on the website page, because we really want to get everybody in.
Thank you, Mary.
Sean, the farming community will probably find it very hard to stay indoors for quite as long as you've said there'll be a temptation or a want to check on livestock. So have you any specific advice
Bill.
in that scenario? And just secondly, when we reach 3 o'clock tomorrow or whatever is the final time when the red status comes down, what's the advice for people then as they start to go back out, particularly again farmers who at that stage will definitely want to get back out?
Okay, I'm going to call Bill Callanan from our colleagues in agriculture here. Bill, if you don't mind.
Yes, it's been a particularly difficult couple of days on farms in terms of access to water for livestock, feeding and tending to livestock, and over the next couple of days that will remain. Our advice has been very clear and consistent, which was that livestock be moved to sheltered areas in advance of the storm hitting us at 4 o'clock this evening, and that remains. In terms of tending to livestock, general recommendation is that common sense prevails. That should be that people will remain indoors from 4 o'clock. Naturally, where something happens and somebody is attending to that, then they should be accompanied, not tend to any livestock on their own. Make sure you're accompanied by a mobile phone that's well charged, that additional safety such as using a high-vis jacket, etc., is availed of by people. Just taking precaution around the farm is a critical thing over the next couple of days. I would also urge that farmers would not try and remove snow from old sheds or buildings that are around the farmyard, etc. So just a certain amount of common sense has to be applied in the next couple of days. Okay.
George,
Yeah, George.
are you at all concerned on the agriculture side, the fact that in Connacht and in Ulster they did not have a red warning until 11 o'clock last night, and that perhaps some of the farmers in those areas may not be quite ready?
No, I don't think so. The red warning, as I understand, there was a temperature warning. So the opportunity to access for feeding, etc., it's a very different scenario. In those environments, it's critical that gritting of yards is done, that sand is used, for example, around where animals are walking or where humans are walking, and that would be the main concern in those areas, as opposed to the challenge of snow, which is applying to the more southern counties.
Sean, Roman Gig, the Irish Times. Lewis drivers have been told they will have to operate Lewis during the red alert to keep the tracks open. They say that the union says that this is a danger to life and limb. What do you think about that?
I'm going to ask our transport spokespeople. Eddie, do you want to take it or do you take that?
Yeah, I know that in the last few minutes it's something that Lewis are looking at. I'm not sure if they made a final decision as yet. but it's something they're looking at.
They have told, the workers have been told to report it using
But it's under consideration now, so I don't know what the outcome of that consideration will be, but it's something they're looking at. Thank you.
Sean, is there anyone who could take a question from social protection around posts about some of the reports that some officers that were unsure of cash this morning in trying to meet welfare demands?
Yeah, we got that report earlier on, and we sent our colleagues. We were in touch with our colleagues from Department of Social Protection, and we're not able to establish that that actually is an issue in the way that it was been presented. So I don't actually have the detail. Keith, I think that was the position as things. We certainly, the issue was raised, and we made contact with them, but we weren't able to establish. I think that there is actually a significant difficulty in the way it was being presented or came to us this morning. Yeah.
Presumably you don't want to rush people out to the shops at 3 o'clock tomorrow. So what's the wider advice for people once it passes?
No, look, the focus for today has been on sort of trying to. We are deeply concerned about safety, about having people home, so we've been trying to focus on that particular area rather than things. But I mean, I think it is appropriate to say this is a storm, this is a blizzard that's coming. With snow, we've seen the impact of snow out here. When that snow starts to drift, we don't know really what the situation is going to be like. That's what we're going to be doing, you know, from this evening. We're going to be trying to assess what is happening, what the extent of things, and we will be using this forum here, as will local authorities, to provide information to people on what the conditions are, what the general conditions. People will obviously see in their immediate locality what conditions are like, but we'll be attempting to provide information on the conditions generally. That's the job that we'll be trying to do here, which will enable people to make decisions. But I think, as always in the situations, we'll be giving the advice and the information as best we can. We'll be, you know, advising people, have a serious look before you do things. So I think tomorrow afternoon we'll begin to look, and we'll know, but we'll be speaking between now and then, obviously, about what we think the situation is.
Sean, 4 million from the Irish Independent. Just two things. The first is a number of local authorities have suspended gritting of roads now. Presumably that has a knock-on then when you get all of this snow that dumps. Will that lead to some delays in reopening roads? And then the second thing is, in terms of just, you know, food deliveries to shops, in terms of ATMs and cash and all that kind of thing, do you have anything on that?
Just on the local authority one, no, I think that may have been an instance of an individual local authority may have been preparing to close down their services. I think I'm not sure that that has happened, and I think our transport colleagues have been working with the local authorities. Obviously, our objective is to keep the road networks from deteriorating insofar as we can over the period. In other words, not causing problems. And transport and local authorities are working together on that particular specific issue. You know, to avoid problems coming there. But there are balances to be struck here in terms of safety of staff and the conditions in which we have staff working out there. So that's the balanced judgment. That's the judgment that's made locally. People, you know, have a look at the conditions, have a look at the advice, and they make a decision. So, you know, in any given particular situation, you know, I myself was speaking with an individual in a county this morning where they were in sunshine and in the northwest of the country, you know, so they didn't have the conditions. So there's different judgments going on in different places according to conditions.
Just on the issue though, if there is an accumulation of snow overnight, does that delay opening roads, or is it just a question of the plough will just get through the national?
No, the ploughs, we have 300 blades which will be out there and start as conditions, you know, allow for that. We're dependent on what follows. We're dependent on how frozen things are. We're dependent on a whole range of things as to how quickly that clearance will happen. But I think it's too early to be calling there. We don't know what the situation is actually going, and you know, we can't. I certainly wouldn't be here today going into that territory, I have to say, Paul, at the moment.
Food and cash and that kind of stuff, those essentials. There's no issues being reported.
No, not since Monday when there seemed to be the issue with bread. But I'm not sure what quite the issue is. No, the distribution networks. And again, after Monday, I think we checked with the various people, you know, how the whole food distribution, the logistics of that, how that is actually working, and that has continued, and the production of bread and things have continued, and that hopefully everybody has enough bread at this stage, you know, and stacks of it. Yes, I won't say any more about that.
Would you say there's any danger of an overreaction, like with the bread?
Look, I don't know about whether you characterise it as overreaction. There's a very real situation. We have advice here from our colleagues in Met Éireann. They give us very good advice. They work with us. We look at what the potential impacts on this, and we have got to a situation where we are aware of what's happening. We are not alone in this. It's not something we're making up here. We're not alone in this. This storm is coming up. It's bringing lots of rainfall, which will fall here as snow. They will be accompanied by storm force winds, which will give rise to a blizzard situation. I don't think we're overreacting on that particular piece, and I don't think people or individuals are overreacting. At least I hope they're not.
Can I just ask if the group discussed potential national gas supply shortages? I ask because the UK National Grid this morning issued warnings they could have shortages. Obviously, we depend so much connected with them.
We did. That issue was raised. Again, our colleagues from the Department of Communications, Climate Action, Environment here are dealing with gas networks. Aaron, do you want to give a statement, John?
Yes, the UK have reported a short-term issue with gas supplies. We estimate that the effect will be to simply bring more gas onto the market within the UK. Now, we do import a significant amount of our gas through the interconnectors from the UK, but Gas Networks Ireland are confident that those deliveries will be made. In addition to that, we have our supplies from Corrib, so we don't believe there's any issue around gas security of supply. Thank you.
There's just generally, I make one comment on that before. Generally, on the energy issues here, what has happened is that there's been a closing down of commercial and industrial, which has balanced sort of the demand, the increased energy demands in the domestic situation. So I think that's helping to keep the balance really at the moment here.
Thank you.
Okay. Cléana, well, yeah. We will, of course. Thank you. Safe home.